My family kicked me out on New Year's Eve. "You're no longer one of us," my dad declared. I smirked. "All right then." I pulled out a sealed envelope and tore it to pieces in front of them. When they realized it was the canceled bank draft for the house renovation, chairs screeched, and everyone started yelling. But then I have never been the kind of person who makes a scene. But that night, I decided I wasn't going to swallow anything anymore. It was New Year's Eve and my parents were throwing one of their usual four-smile family dinners, the kind they guilt you into. To attending with phrases like "we're still your parents" and "don't embarrass us in front of everyone." My sister Rachel and I showed up late, and not by accident. He knew why. We parked 2 blocks away, so we'd have a longer walk to talk things through. I was nervous, but not unsure. I was done letting them pull strings. The house was packed. My aunts were laughing too loud. My cousins glued to their phones, and the whole place smelled like overcooked ham and cheap perfume. My mom barely looked at me when she opened the door. My dad didn't say hello. He just gave me that tight jaw expression he always wore when he thought he had the moral high ground. We made it about 20 minutes before he decided to put on a show. We were all seated mid-toast, and he just said it with a smugness like he was delivering a righteous verdict. "You're not part of us anymore." There was a pause. Everyone went still. I smiled. Fair enough. I pulled out the envelope I'd kept in my coat pocket all evening. Thick paper looking. And slowly right in front of them, I tore it to pieces. No warning. No explanation. Just slow, deliberate shredding. I let the pieces flutter to the floor like snow. Silence dropped hard. That envelope held a certified bank draft for $6,000. The exact amount they'd asked me for a few weeks ago, supposedly for finishing their kitchen renovation, their dream space, as they called it. I had agreed reluctantly. I'd even gone to the bank the same day and arranged everything. I was going to mail it, but something told me to wait. A day later, Rachel showed me the texts, screenshots, dozens of them. My mom joking with my aunt about how I'd always cave, how I owed them, how they knew just what to say to get what they wanted. My dad saying I'd never stand up to them because I was still trying to earn their love. They'd mocked me, planned it, so I went to the bank and canceled the draft. I kept the cancellation receipt. I had it printed and sealed in that envelope. It was for them, not to explain, just to show. That's when the yelling started. My mom jumped up first, demanding to know what I'd done. My dad was already blaming Rachel, saying she turned me against them. My uncle started lecturing us about respect. One cousin tried to pull me aside to calm me down like I was the problem. I didn't say much. This is only the beginning. And I meant every word. Rachel and I left. No goodbyes, no fake hugs, just the two of us stepping out into the freezing night, while people inside scrambled to figure out what the hell just happened. What they didn't know yet was that for the past year, I'd been secretly paying off part of a loan they couldn't handle. Their names were on it. But the monthly payments came from me quietly, stupidly, because I thought maybe they'd eventually see me as something more than a source of money. That ended the moment I tore that envelope. They'd find out soon, probably from their bank. And when they did, they'd be on their own. No more silent lifelines. No more pretending to be the good daughter just to keep the peace. Let them figure out what pride tastes like when the bills start stacking up. And the funny part, that beautiful kitchen they wanted so badly, the one they thought would finally impress the neighbors and make them feel like royalty, it was now just an empty promise wrapped in debt. By January 3rd, the silence started to crack. It began with a text from my mom. Just a simple line. "Hey honey, hope you're okay. Call when you can." I didn't answer. Neither did Rachel. They waited 2 days, then sent another one, this time from my dad. Not sure what's going on with the bank, but something's off with the loan. That one made me smile, so they finally saw it. I had pulled my payments the morning of January 1st. After checking one last time that the account had my name nowhere permanent, the moment I knew they'd be fully liable, I pulled the plug. No more silent deposits. No more emergency money transfers. No more acting like it was just a temporary thing. They thought the loan would quietly handle itself. It always had. That first missed payment triggered an automatic notice. They owed more than they could cover, especially with how much they'd funneled into half finishing the kitchen. I knew their financial reality better than they did. They were stretched thin, pretending to live a life they couldn't afford, and I had been their cushion. Not anymore. That's when the calls started. I got 2 voicemails that first week. The first was calm, pretending it was all a misunderstanding. The second was not. My dad's voice was sharp, scattered. He blamed me, accused me of doing this out of spite. I saved it. I saved everything in case I ever needed proof of how quickly they could flip the story. And just like I expected, they started turning the story around for others. By January 7th, Rachel got a call from Aunt Marianne. Your mom says you and Jade have gone cold. That she doesn't know why. He's worried sick. Rachel didn't bother explaining. She just told her to give it time. Aunt Marianne wasn't stupid. She'd loaned our parents money 2 years ago and never saw a dime back. They promised to repay her after the tax refund. The refund came. The repayment didn't. Then came the louder moves. Our cousin Julie worked at a bank downtown and told us she saw our dad come in looking frantic, trying to negotiate some kind of emergency extension. She didn't talk to him directly, but she heard enough. He said he'd been sabotaged. Rachel and I just waited. No responses, no explanations. We wanted to see how far they'd go, and then it crossed the line. Rachel's boss pulled her into a private meeting on a Thursday morning and asked if everything was okay at home. He looked uncomfortable. He told her someone had emailed the company claiming to be a concerned parent, warning that Rachel was unstable, easily manipulated, and might be a risk at work. The email included just enough detail to seem legitimate. Old addresses, her middle name, even a past school. She forwarded me the email. It came from one of our dad's old Gmail accounts. Still active, still used, still signed off with his name by accident at the bottom of the thread. That's when the anger shifted into something else, something clearer. This wasn't just about money anymore. They were trying to damage us, punish us, destroy reputations if it meant pulling us back in. They tried to paint us as villains, and when that didn't work, they aimed lower. I scheduled a legal consult the next day. Not to sue, not yet, but to understand what counted as harassment to make sure if they pushed harder, I could push back harder. And while I was sitting across from the lawyer reviewing records and emails, I asked something I hadn't planned to. I asked if there was a way to reclaim a personal loan I'd given them almost 2 years ago. $3,000 undocumented, but sent through traceable transfers meant for a short-term fix that turned into a black hole. I never mentioned it after, but now I wanted it back. My lawyer said if I gave them a written warning and they ignored it, we could proceed. That night, I typed it all up. No threats, no drama, just facts, dates, and an amount. I sent it in a tracked envelope addressed to them both. And then I sat back and waited. They thought the canceled draft was the end of the storm. They had no idea. The envelope landed on their doorstep January 14th. I tracked it down to the minute. Signed by my dad. I imagined him opening it in the hallway, flipping through the typed letter, then seeing his own name and the amount he thought I'd forgotten. $3,000. It was all laid out clearly. The dates, the transfer receipts, the intent. A formal warning that I expected repayment within 14 days or I'd pursue legal action. 3 days of silence. Then the noise started again, just not from them. It was Uncle Louis who called first. Out of nowhere. I hadn't spoken to him in almost a year, but his name flashed on my screen like he'd been waiting for the right moment to jump in. I picked up. You shook the whole tree. Jade, your dad's losing it. I didn't say anything. I just let him talk. Apparently, my father had been calling around in full panic mode trying to borrow money. He told Louis it was an urgent situation and danced around the real reason like always. But Louis isn't an idiot. He said, my dad asked for $3,000. Same exact number. He didn't lend it. Instead, he told me something I didn't know. They once borrowed a couple grand from my aunt, Louis's wife, for what was supposed to be a quick fix. They promised to repay her after a job bonus came through. The bonus arrived, but the debt lingered. Louis said it took nearly a year and heated family arguments to recover the money, and even then, it trickled in with excuses. They've been doing this to all of us for years. Louis finally cut them off. That's when it hit me. I'd spent most of my adult life thinking I was the only one they leaned on. But the truth was, they'd built a web of quiet manipulation, moving from one family member to another, making promises they never kept. I wasn't special. I was just next in line. That same night, Rachel sent me a screenshot. Our mom had texted her a guilt-laden paragraph. You girls have no idea what you've done. Your father is heartbroken. You're making everything worse. If this is how you treat family, go ahead and destroy it all. No mention of what they owed. No accountability. Just the usual twist. They were the victims, we were the villains. We didn't respond. Then, on January 18th, a plain envelope arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a check for exactly $3,000, signed by my dad. No note. No apology, just the money, as if it could erase everything. It could have ended there, but it didn't. That same weekend, Grandma Ruth called, my dad's mother. She rarely gets involved. She didn't even take sides when my parents skipped my college graduation for a vacation. But this time, she was different. She asked me to meet her at a diner near her house. No small talk. She looked me in the eye and said, "Your father told me what happened." I told him he should be ashamed. I wasn't expecting that. Then she handed me an envelope. Inside were photocopies of old receipts and handwritten IOUs, some over 25 years old. Small loans, big ones, all promises my parents never honored. She'd kept them all, tucked away like she was waiting for the day someone would say enough. "I admired your silence for years," she said, "but I admire your strength more." Holding that envelope, something shifted. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about unraveling years of silence others had endured. The next morning, I got a call from someone unexpected, my dad's brother, Uncle Alan, from Chicago. We rarely talk, but he left a voicemail. "Just got off the phone with your dad. He's saying a lot, but I'd rather hear your side." They were spreading their narrative now, reaching out to distant relatives, crafting a story to rewrite history before it caught up with them. But I wasn't the same Jade from a year ago. I had documents, receipts, screenshots, and people who had my back. This time, they wouldn't get away with it. By the time Uncle Alan called, I knew what was happening. My parents had gone scorched earth. They weren't just painting me as ungrateful. They were spinning a tale where Rachel and I had attacked them out of nowhere. But here's what they didn't expect. Nobody really bought it. Not anymore. I didn't even need to defend myself to Alan. Before I could say much, he said, "I believe you." They pulled this on me too, back in '09. He was the third person in 2 weeks to admit they'd been burned by my parents, quietly, without ever speaking up. It was like dominoes falling. Once I pushed the first one, others realized they'd been standing in silence too long. Then, something bizarre happened. My parents sent out an email inviting everyone to a casual family gathering at their house the next weekend. They framed it as a chance to reconnect, talk things out, and move forward as a family. A few diplomatic relatives said they'd come. Most ignored it. Rachel and I knew it for what it was, damage control. They wanted everyone in one room before their story unraveled further. I wasn't going, but Rachel had a plan. "Let's send someone else." We asked Aunt Helena, the quiet one, always observant, never in the drama. She agreed to go, not as a spy, but to watch and listen. The gathering happened on a chilly Saturday afternoon. Less than half the family showed up. Helena said the kitchen was still unfinished, exposed drywall, scattered tools. The $3,000 check had clearly stretched them thin. My dad was red-faced, pacing. My mom looked drained. They started talking, spinning a tale that I'd blindsided them, that I'd always been bitter, that I'd demanded money out of nowhere and threatened them when they refused. They said Rachel was just caught up in my influence. They even hinted I was unstable, that they were trying to protect me. Then Helena stood up, calm and steady, and asked one question. "If Jade's so unstable, why did you trust her with your finances for a year and a half?" Silence. Then she added that she'd seen the proof, that I hadn't threatened anyone, that I'd only stopped a pattern, and that I should have done it sooner. Some guests left early. Others stayed, but not to support my parents. Helena called us that night to debrief. She sounded shaken, not from any confrontation, there wasn't one, but because, as she put it, your parents didn't even try to deny it. They just looked trapped. The fallout was swift. Relatives who defended them started pulling back. Group chats went silent. My parents were no longer the victims. They were the ones people warned each other about. Then came the final crack in their facade. Rachel got a screenshot from a family friend close to our mom. It was a Facebook post, a long, self-pitying rant about losing a daughter to lies and how pride and money ruined family. Comments were turned off. My name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew. It backfired spectacularly. One of the top replies was from an old family friend who used to babysit me. "Sometimes it's not the kids who change. Sometimes it's the parents who never did." That post was screenshotted and shared endlessly. People stopped texting me to ask what happened. They already knew or had seen enough. After that Facebook post imploded, things went quiet. Too quiet. For 2 weeks, my parents vanished from every group chat. No calls, no emails, no messages to Rachel or me. It felt like the calm before a storm, like they were regrouping for a new move. I wasn't planning to go legal. I had my money back, The truth was out, and I didn't want court unless they pushed. Then, a handwritten letter came, shaky, no return address. It was Mom's writing. No apology, just complaints about the family falling apart, blaming me, ending with a cryptic, "You win. We'll figure it out." It didn't feel like closure. 5 days later, Rachel got a PayPal request from Dad for $3,000, same amount they owed me. After everything, lying, pretending I'd robbed them, they tried it again with her. That was it. I knew they'd never change. I called my lawyer, who'd prepped a harassment and financial misconduct complaint weeks ago. I gave the green light. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about consequences. Then, a twist. Drew, Rachel's boyfriend, said a church friend of our parents revealed they were asking for money again, using Rachel's name, claiming she was struggling. An old acquaintance, now in financial fraud prevention at a credit union, flagged them. They'd opened a new credit line with a shady story, and Rachel got a call confirming she wasn't part of it. Fraud. Now their lawyer was involved. An anonymous tip to a local agency sparked an audit of their predatory borrowing. They sent me a $3,000 check, no note, trying to fix things by paying Rachel through me. We didn't cash it. Our lawyer returned it with a letter, no contact, no using our names, final warning. They went silent. Their tactics backfired. Family stopped answering, no one defended them. Their house sat unfinished, loans unpaid, just them and their mess. Months passed. Rachel and I moved on, free from the drama. Then, a typed letter from Dad arrived, no return address. Not quite an apology, just admitting they went too far, saying they'd step back from family. His last line, "You're not the same girl we raised." A jab, but true, I'd changed. I boxed up their old photo album, left it in storage. Instead, I framed a picture of Rachel, me, and Grandma Ruth at the diner, the day she said she was proud. That was my closure. Rachel said it best, passing their crumbling house. They lost the illusion they were untouchable. No one listened or rescued them anymore. They were stuck with their choices, debt, silence, isolation. We moved on. If they try again, they'll find a locked door and a different me, not smiling, just gone.